All right. For the audience that doesn't know you, feel free to introduce yourself.
Well, so my name is John Lillis. I'm a former Olympic athlete in freestyle skiing. So if you guys don't know what that is, like flips and acrobatics and high flying stuff on skis. I did that till I was about 26 years old. And when I retired, I wanted to find like how to stay connected to sports and like the things that I enjoy doing versus like joining a workforce of like going and doing what, all my friends were doing, or going and working for someone else, or getting caught in like a day-to-day mundane job. So I kind of, you know, moved down to Vegas and got into the sports betting scene and made a couple, different investments across this scene and started my own thing and really kind of got into it. And it just kind of turned into being a full-time gambler and, you know, entrepreneur on the side, but it's all related around the gambling industry. Just because it's so fun and it's so high stakes, and the sport that I did was so fun and so high stakes. That's how I moved into what I'm doing now, and yeah, that's what I do.
So let's start off with like your early life and the
Mhm.
fact, semi-early life. It was, the fact that you were an Olympic skier,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So tell me about that.
Well, I mean, I think any Olympic athlete will tell you that it doesn't like that journey doesn't happen like late. It kind of starts really early, right? And if you're going to be, competing at that level in a sport, you kind of have an idea that you have a natural like knack or talent for it pretty young. Um, and for me, it was kind of just like I was watching YouTube. I think it was probably back in like 2005, and I was already, doing like skiing, but not like tricks and freestyle and things like that. And I like became more and more interested in it. But the mountain, like that I started at Bristol Mountain, we had a small freestyle program, but nothing compared to like some of these big resorts. And we kind of just got this crew of really passionate kids together, and we got really good really fast. Um, so I actually ended up leaving home at 14 to be a professional athlete. Um, and with that, like I literally moved away from my parents. I was living in Lake Placid, New York for a long time, and then I moved to Park City, Utah when I was like literally as soon as I could get a driver's license, because that was like the big constraint with living there. It was like needing to get around. Um, and I just skied and competed, and I did school online and high school online and stuff. But like my main focus in life was definitely competing and skiing. Um, did probably 9 to 10 years on the world tour. I spent most of my entire career being ranked top 10 in the world. Was world champion in 2017, 2018, and then leading up to the Olympics that I competed in 2018.
Well, so, how would you describe yourself as a kid? Because I feel like everything you did, whether it was, especially now, but, whether it's skiing, which is like the super high velocity, high speed sport, or it's gambling, which is, literally gambling,
Mm-hmm.
it's all based around thrill, like this very deep, intense thrill that you're not going to find many other places, right? Sure, maybe in other sports you can kind of find that same thrill, but skiing it's very unique, right? It's kind of, I would almost compare it to like fighting sports even,
Yeah.
if that even makes sense. So
Excellent.
how were you as a kid? Like why become this thrill obsessed person?
I mean, I think the big thing that causes you to go through like any life course is just genuinely being good at it, right? Like if you're good at something, you naturally will just fall into that something, whatever it may be. Um, and with that being said, like, I loved it, but like I've always was chasing a thrill. Then I found this, as a kid, like I don't really know how I would describe myself. I mean, I definitely took chances. I definitely got in trouble. I definitely didn't listen very much. I mean, I listened to my parents, and I had like great respect for my parents, but that's because they like disciplined me and they put me on the right path. Um, but I mean, like in school or things like that, like I was very like kind of like a question the establishment kid. Why do I got to do things this way? You know, especially when I was, 14, 15, 16 years old. nobody really understood what I was doing, like what I was chasing, or like the enjoyment that I was getting out of like my life at those, that stage. And so there was a lot of like haters and a lot of negativity. I like even had family members that were like, "Oh, stay on this path and you're gonna be flipping burgers," and yada yada yada. Um, and I mean, the key to that was definitely not listening to any of that, for sure. So I mean, not listening and not caring what people that I didn't have like a super great respect for definitely became a bonus as I, got a little older. Um, but I mean, I really just, seeked to do something different. Like there was, there's so many options that people are kind of given. Like, oh, do you want to be a cop, a lawyer, a doctor, a fireman, or yeah, I just like didn't want to do any of that stuff. I wanted to, mix it up. And I'm 30 now, and I'm still mixing it up every day. So that's pretty.
How old were you when you started competing for the World Championships?
So my first World Championship start, I would have been 2013. I would have been 17 years old. Because they only happen every 2 years. And then like the Olympics is every 4, right? So you don't really like. I probably could have competed in the Olympics. It's different. Like I could have competed in the Olympics successfully when I was 16 or 17. Like, and what I mean successfully, like I could have made a good showing. That wouldn't have been embarrassing, and but I had to wait. And then in 2014 there was a lot of politics going on around the Sochi Olympics. And we actually only ended up sending one male. So I didn't get to go to that one. I ended up being an alternate, even though if you had like put my skill level in 2014 up against the Olympians, I mean, I very easily could have won a medal in 2014 too. I mean, I think I was 9th in the world in 2014, and I had 2 or 3 top 10s and 2 top 5s leading up to that Olympics, like on the world tour. But there just wasn't enough spots. Like there's so much politics that goes along with like the Olympic movement. And then I ended up having to wait till 2018. But there was a lot of years in there where I was, top 10 in the world at the time.
What's the process like competing for World Championships and the Olympics?
So I mean, it's World Championships and the Olympics. You're going to probably see the same, at least in my sport, and I'm sure there's differences in a lot of other sports. You're going to see the same athletes competing in the Olympics and World Championships. Most countries select their team that's going to represent them, right? It's going to be their best athletes. The difference with World Championships is every team gets a larger quota, so they can send no matter like. For freestyle skiing, for example, there's only so many spots that a country can send, right? Whether they send you in half pipe or slopestyle or moguls or aerials or any of the sports that qualify as freestyle, they can only send so many. Whereas for world championships, they can send 4 per gender per sport. So there is a little bit more inclusivity there, but it's the same general. It's the same general. You have to go to the World Cups. World Cups are essentially like your PGA Tour or your regular season in the NFL. There's probably 7 to 10 a year. That decides your world ranking and who gets to move to World Championships or the Olympics or anything like that. There's only one way to qualify for the Olympics, at least in my sport. And like people do, like the X Games, for example, right? Like if you go win the X Games for halfpipe, that does not necessarily qualify you for the Olympics in halfpipe. You still have to go through the World Cup circuit and things like that. And like, I'm sure golf or any of the other Olympic sports, there's a totally different, criteria process to go through. But it's generally the same of like whatever the absolute highest level of competition in your sport is, usually that's going to be the deciding factor that pushes you toward what the Olympic Committee uses to select, your team. It sucks. It's a rigorous process, and it is unlike the NFL like that. I would compare it to like if you're an NFL player and you go your whole career and you play on a bunch of different teams and you never go to the Super Bowl, that would be like never going to the Olympics, right? Like only so many people get to do it, even at that highest level of competition where you're already super, super successful. Like nobody would look at, like a Josh Allen. He's never been to the Super Bowl, but like no one would ever look at him as a unsuccessful athlete. That's kind of the way I would say it is. It's just hard because it's every 4 years. It's 4 guys. It's a very fickle thing to deal with, and you don't make a lot. And the difference being you don't make a lot of money being an Olympic athlete. You're kind of doing it way more for the love of the game, even at that professional level. I mean, you're not. There's a couple. The famous people, right? Like the Lindsey Vonns or the Michaela Schifrins or the those type of high level. The very famous Olympians, Bodie Miller or Livy Dune, right, for gymnastics. She's making a ton of money. She's never going to go to the Olympics, but she's making a ton of money. Other than that, a couple $100,000 here and there if you're really, really good. So you really do have to kind of love it to stay in it for that long and do that many years,
1 year before you were in the 2018 Olympics, your brother passed away. How did that affect your career?
It happened right at the end of my career. It definitely wasn't good for that Olympics, right? Like I was riding a super high. I was jumping, amazing. I was world champion. And then, I was traveling and training for that Olympics, like when he passed away. So I had to go home and deal with that. And, that I definitely wasn't, it happened a couple months before the Olympics, right? So I didn't get back to my normal self. I was at 50%, definitely, like in my Olympics. And also like I did such a dangerous sport that leading up to that Olympics, I really didn't train very much because like training comes with that inherent risk. And I had already qualified for my position at the Olympics. So I didn't really have to push myself to get there. And it was just like, I also competed at the same time with my other brother, Chris, who was, traveling traveling with me. And after our brother passed away, he actually broke his leg right before the Olympics, and he was supposed to be on the team with me. And so I kind of just like shut it down, and I was like, all right, no more tragedy before this Olympics. Like I'm getting there. I've worked 10 years. I already have my spot. I'm not going to go train and risk like injury. So I did pretty much do like nothing for the month leading up to the, I worked out and I was there and I did easy, basic like stuff to keep my like, my skills and like stuff intact. But in all different situations, I would have been doing hard tricks and doing, really pushing myself leading up to the games. And I would have been in better shape and I wouldn't have been smoking a pack of cigarettes a day and going to bed crying. Like, there was that negativity. And then afterwards, my career was always a family thing for me, right? It was something I did with both my brothers. And then without Mike afterwards, I never really got the same like satisfaction. And also I started to get a little older and realize my mortality a little bit, if that makes sense. Knowing I couldn't just, do this dangerous stuff and pretend like there was never going to be any consequences. And that definitely affected me in a way that it pushed me to, tell myself that I did a lot in my sport and it was just time to go do something else. Like once those negative thoughts start to creep into your head of like, oh, if I get hurt, what happens and blah, 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 blah. And also when you stop enjoying it as much, that's when you got to call it a career. So I did kind of retire shortly after my brother passing, and then kind of move into business and starting a family and all that stuff, because it just kind of it was a big turning point in life for me. And it all happened at the same time, but it wasn't like, I don't know how it would have affected my career if something like that had happened when I was 16, right? And I had to carry that weight through an entire 10-year career. It would have been tough. My brother's still competing, and he broke his leg before the Olympics we were going to do together, but he came back, really strong. He won the gold medal in the Olympics following it. And he's still jumping now, and he's trying to go get, another medal in the Olympics next year. So I think, he probably had more, like, he had that leg break right after, and then he had time to really process what had happened and deal with his mental health. Whereas I was just getting through the Olympics, and I think it's just a totally different scenario. But it's definitely, it's something I wouldn't wish on anyone. That's one thing I will tell, I wouldn't wish that kind of pain on my worst enemy. So, then I still think about it all the time. It is. I don't know if you guys have siblings, but it's the worst. It's the worst. But I wish I had more time to, also the big thing that I regretted was that my traveling and my career and competing, in the years leading up to my brother passing, it did make it so we didn't spend as much time together. And so that was something that made it hard to go back to jumping afterwards, because I always thought, like, oh, how much is this career, taking away from, me having a family, me spending time with my family, me being around, the people I care about. So it made it harder to travel. It made it harder to be away. And I think that's kind of what just said, all right, time to get the business rolling and stop running around the world as much, if that makes sense.
Well, one thing I do want to talk about is, the transition from, one thing that's like super high stakes but physically dangerous, another one that's very high stakes as well, but I would argue financially dangerous, right? Like a lot less, maybe even psychological, you could argue. Because when you're gambling, I don't know how much money you're gambling, right? But like, let's say it's tens of thousands of dollars at a time, like you were in a high stakes gambling video, and you're dealing with clients that are all this money, right? Is my point. What was that transition like? Was this like?
So it's different, right? Because like within the Discord, I genuinely, and like the communities that we run and the people that we help as far as our gambling stuff goes, I genuinely enjoy helping people, right? And the gambling I also genuinely enjoy because I enjoy the thrill of it myself. I'm sorry, getting a call. Sorry about that. So that's different, right? Like shoot, I'm sorry. I don't know why that guy keeps calling. I don't know why, like, I don't know. There are things that I really love about the industry, and there are things that I really hate about the industry. Sorry, to get back on track. My personal gambling, I love the thrill of it, right? I do gamble a lot. I do gamble a lot of money. I'm not worth $100 million, right? I came up very, very on my own. I worked for everything I have. I have money, but not millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I make money with the money that I have, right? So I can't blow through the money I have. I can't tilt out and go to a casino and lose 100K, because then I can't continuously bet the way that I do. So I have to be methodical about that. But I would say I bet $5,000 to $10,000 a day. But like if you're managing like a big portfolio, even if you're managing, a personal portfolio that has $1 million in it, and the market moves slightly. I mean, it's the same kind of swing that I could take, right? But when you're dealing with trying to help people within the industry and trying to help them win, there are so many external forces that work against you, right? Like people wanting to parlay, or the idea that you can help them actually like win big, guaranteed in any given day, or that there's like some kind of a secret way to beat a casino or and like all of those external things that get into people's head, they actually work really against their winning, and they're what the casino wants, right? And there's a lot of like popular betting now, right? With like these player props and prize picks and all the stuff that FanDuel and DraftKings and all these people like are offering as a true gamble on sports these days, and really like explaining to someone how bad that is for their gambling and pulling them away from that and getting them to, also bet large. Like if you really want to win a large amount of money, and I don't know what you would consider a large amount of money, but let's say you want to win 250 grand in a year, and you say like, okay, I'm gonna do this. You better be ready to wager a lot of money to win that, because if you take the whole 250 grand and you bet it on one outcome, you can lose, right? And all your money's gone. And if you are trying to bet crazy long shot parlays to hit it, then you're just playing the lottery, and we know how that goes. Like, nobody's going to do it. If you really want to win, you have to be able to like sweat the actual money. If you have to be able to walk up and bet 3,000 to 5,000 a game and lose that bet and not tilt out and come back and do it the right way the next time. It would be very similar. I don't know, you guys are young, but I don't know if you've ever like traded options at all, right? If you get like sucked down an option hole and you just, you just keep chasing and chasing and chasing, you can wipe your entire trading account out fast. It's the same in gambling. And like when you're dealing with other people, you're also dealing with their addictions, right? Because gambling is addicting. The rush and thrill of gambling is so addicting, right? The ability to walk in and out of a casino on any given day with $10,000 plus that you did no work for is a thrill, right? Even I am a competitive person, obviously, as an athlete. The idea of walking into a casino and just beating them up for a shitload of money and walking out like I just committed a robbery is such a thrill, right? Like oh yeah, I just walked in and they handed me $50,000 and I walked the fuck out. Like, can you believe it? It's like a robbery. That thrill is so addicting. But also like there's also like a sickening addiction in the loss, right? Because like are you guys gamblers? Do you gamble at all? DraftKings? No?
Not yet.
Not yet, right? You're going to be like, wait a minute, this is something I got to get into. It's like that scene in what's that movie? Walk the Line, when he's like, I think I got to try me some of that. Like when you're like a minute before the end of a game, right? And let's say you got $5,000 on the line, right? And you've got Florida minus 1.5, right, in the national championship game a couple weeks ago. And they're down 1 and there's 50 seconds left and they got to win by more than 2. That last 50 seconds, when like you have that $5,000 on the line, or really it's like however much it has to matter to you, right? Like for gambling to feel good when you win, it has to feel bad when you lose, right? Like if I bet a $50 parlay that pays me out $10,000, I don't really get that much thrill from it, because if I lose $50, it doesn't fucking matter to me. Like I'd spend $50, tipping someone at the valet. But if I lose $5,000, I care, right? So that makes that last 50 seconds really, really, really interesting. And it makes you sweat it, and you're so invested in the outcome of that last 50, and you're invested in the outcome of these humans that you can't control, right? the future and like you have no control over. It's like for a gambler, it's the most alive you'll ever feel. But you have to have that loss. And I think that people, the thing that gets people to start gambling at $25, $50, right? They start little, and then it's just like any kind of drug or addiction. You just build this tolerance to it where, like, inherently, yes, you want to win more, but you have to lose more to feel something. And that is the big difference in gambling and my athletic career, right? Like, I did not need to lose to feel anything. And especially in my sport, if I lost, it usually meant I felt, 60 feet in the air to my back, which I never wanted to do. But that when you're helping other people too, you're dealing with their addictions, right? And like the hate comes, and like there are so many scam people in the gambling industry that just like can tell you that they know the outcome of the future, right? Or like that they have this guaranteed outcome. And that's just not the way it works. Like the way it works is, actually beating other gamblers and finding value and working a strategy and not pouring all your money into the casino when you lose. But that is, and then let's say you flip a coin, right? And let's say this coin's going to land on heads 60% of the time instead of 50% of the time. You're still going to come up with tails 3 times in a row a bunch of times, or 4 times in a row, or 5 times in a row, if you keep flipping that coin. And that, when like it is the risk that you take, like it is I feel worse when we have bad days or losing days or losing weeks or losing months or like bad periods of time. I feel worse that I lost other people money than my own, because I know that they probably are betting, more money than they should be, or doubling down on bets that they shouldn't be doubling down on, or they weren't, they might not have known about me or known my channel in December when I, won like 80% of my bets in December. And like the amount of money we made in December this year was staggering, right? But if you have the first 2 weeks in January that are kind of off weeks after that staggering amount of win, and somebody found you January 2nd, you feel horrible. You don't want them to lose, but you try to explain to them that this is gambling. And if you want guaranteed money, get a fucking job, like go to work. If you want to risk and like gamble and like, like if my skiing career did not culminate in the Olympics, that would have felt like a massive loss. I would have gambled, 10 years of my life towards this goal, and I would have lost, and I would have never succeeded. And then that would have been the end of it. And I would have lost a massive hand. I all in hand my entire teenage years. And that's a hard thing for people to understand, right? Like you have to like know that gambling is it is gambling. It is like you have to know what it is and treat it for what it is, and respect what it is. And like you have to like avoid those demons that like creep into your head and tell you to do these things that like your mind tells you, like if you lose 5 bets in a row and you're a good gambler like I am, your mind tells you that there's no possible way you lose the 6th bet. Like there's no possible way. But there was nothing different but on that 6th one and the first one. And like if say I bet 5,000 a game, if that 6th bet I'm like I have to win this one, I'm betting 25,000. Like that is what you deal with when you're dealing with other people's money. And it's very difficult, right? It's not like you are a broker or a wealth management person where you actually hold your client's money and control what goes out and what comes in. Like you're inherently relying on their addictions and their ability to have the same self-control. But it's hard to learn the same like I've won hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably getting closer to the 7-figure number in the last 3 to 4 years. those results are what teach you the good habits, right? Like don't chase, don't do all these things. But if you never won 900 grand, it's really hard to believe that it's possible. It's really hard to like stay the course. You're like, no, I'm down. I just started and I'm down. And that sucks. And I mean, I was a losing fucking gambler for a long time. I mean, when I was like an athlete and I was, a single guy and I didn't have any kids and I was making pretty good money and I would come do Vegas trips. Yeah, I was the casino's best friend, right? I would walk in, I would party, I would gamble like I was trying to take the place down in a night, and I never did. And that is, you know, when it's different when you treat it as a business and as an investment, and you're really like, behind my screen right now, I have all the numbers and I'm watching bets come in and I'm watching lines move, just like you would be watching, stock market tickers. It is, I mean, a bad day for me now, I just would compare it to like a bad day in the market, right? And if you're a trader and you let a bad day in the market run your entire fucking life, and you start treating people in your life poorly because the market is down, I mean, you're going to be a miserable human being. So there are so many correlations between gambling and all other parts of life that, it is what it is, but it is way more fun. I mean, wouldn't you rather watch, some of these sports and have that be the outcome of your money versus like waiting for Amazon's earnings report? Like, oh, I wonder how Nvidia is doing this quarter. Am I going to be fucked, or or no? I would way rather watch, a UFC fight and just be like, and see the outcome of my money based on that, or an NFL football game. I would way rather put my money on the Bills than, Google.
Well, let's talk about like also the morality of this, because I mean, I don't know. Like, for example, I have no idea how to play poker. I'm just gonna give you like an example. Like, I love blackjack. I have no idea how to play poker. Poker is like the most fucking confusing thing I've ever seen in my life, right? So I'm not really sure how to play poker, but like, let's say like in a poker game, right? The morality of you being good at the game, right? Like, let's say you have like a 70% chance of winning, or like at least doing very well. And then you get a guy who is like just starting out and he has like a 10% chance of doing well. Like, he really does, like, he's like me, like he has no idea how to play the game, right? Do you consider it immoral? Like, are you one of those, like, is it okay if you just go to a random table and just start playing against people that are like bad and you know that they're bad?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it depends the situation, right? Am I an asshole because I know how to play Texas Hold'em, right? Would I be a dick if I got you two who don't know how to play Texas Hold'em that well to sit with just me and I set this up and I know that you're not going to fucking beat me because you don't know the rules of the game, and whatever money I can get you sucker you out of, yes, that would make me an asshole. Is it immoral? I mean, if you let the game play out, you do, like, no matter how bad you are at poker, right? Like, you do have a chance to win. Like, the cards still will fall where they may, right? If you don't fold and you just go all in, and I'm not paying attention to what's going on, like, you can fucking beat me. Like, it's not, in gambling, there's no guarantees, right? Like, I could just deal you a freaking full house and lose. But I would say that you're an asshole, and it's not something I would ever do. But if you're at a casino in Vegas and you're 21 years old, you're a grown ass man. You can go to war for our country. You can drink alcohol. You can do all these things. And by some streak of dumbness, you thought it was a good idea to stroll into a Vegas poker room thinking that not knowing how to play the game, you would win, and that anyone in that room gives a fuck about you and gives a fuck about your money and gives a fuck about morality is just, you know, you're due for a long life because like you were not taught how the world really works. Like thank God I was raised by a man who like didn't make me feel like the world gives a shit about me, right? Like we are men. We have to like, if you don't go to work and you don't provide for your family and you don't have money for your kids and your bills, and you're a piece of shit and nobody cares. Like whatever sob story you're weaving, like who cares, right? So it's like Darwinism. If you walk into that poker room thinking it's going to work out for you, you're just dumb. And like nobody like it's not necessarily immoral because like you could take their money, you could be right, but you're not. So it's like, hopefully you learn that lesson one time, and then you go on one of the million free poker sites there are on the internet, and you spend about 500 hours learning how to play the game, and then maybe come back and lose a couple more times, and then go have drinks with a couple poker players after the game and learn how to bluff and learn, what all the different nuances of poker are. Because like poker is different than blackjack, it's different than craps, it's different than sports, it's different than any other. You don't have to have the winning hand to win the hand. You can inherently be the better poker player. You can be the better liar. You can, you can bet strategically in ways that you will win the game whether you have the better cards or not. It is as much of a luck-based game as a skill-based game. And it's just Darwinism. Like that, like really, like if I sell you a shit coin and you buy it and I rug pull on you, a lot of people argue that it's a moral on the rug puller. But like ask yourself, like, does that person really deserve that money? Look how dumb they are. Like look how stupid they are. There are people that like they will buy like literally like coins that are like, scam coin. And they're like, yeah, that's the one I want. And it's like, how dumb do you have to be? Like it's like, it's natural selection. I'm not here, like I'm here to care about the people that I care about in my life, my family. I have political views that I think are best for all people. But like it is not it is nobody's responsibility to like police what other people do with their money. And if people are going to make stupid mistakes, like that's part of learning in all things in life, not just gambling. Like, if you are a 16-year-old and you decide that you're going to drive a car without learning how to drive a car and you crash that car, and then someone runs along and they're like, oh my God, let me fix this whole situation for you and make it all better and give you no consequences. And you didn't, you weren't driving without a license and yada, yada, yada. Make it all better for you. You don't learn any lessons in life. So I would hope that you would walk into the poker room with not all your money, because I'm going to take it, and then learn. And that was if it's $500, I just taught you a $500 life lesson in how the world doesn't care. And, life's not always fair and you don't always get what you want. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, where would you, I would ask you guys who are not necessarily gamblers, do you think it's immoral?
No, because I mean the game inherently is based on chance. So like it's
Right.
it's like playing like if I buy $5,000 in lottery tickets and I don't win, that's kind of what I'm compared to. Now, if I like, okay, like for example, like let's say you're like a super like Daniel Negreanu, I think is his name, or Phil Ivey, and you're going to like some shitty neighborhood and you're playing at a casino. Is that a little crappy because you know the game back forwards and backwards and you can screw anybody out of money, like, and it's so easy for you? That's a little crappy. I wouldn't,
But if you're at a casino doing that, a lot of those, they'll turn away your action. They won't let you play there if they know who you are.
Yeah, that's what they did to Mickey Mace.
So it's not really crappy then.
If you want to know where you're actually gonna get fished, it's online.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because there's literally no way for you to know what you're getting is the actual product.
Well, yeah, and if you're just playing the game, you might not know it, but someone you're playing that has like 4 computers in the background and they're running the like odds on and probabilities on winning every single hand and like getting data on like how much they should bet based on like the cards dealt, like you can just get fucking washed online. Because there are people that are there just to rinse you.
Well, also too, it's a computer, so I wouldn't be shocked if the gambling companies like Stake, for example, are doing something really crooked. I have a feeling they probably are. Like, they could just be doing things.
They do stuff really crooked that's like out in the open.
Right?
Like I'm sure you've seen all these Drake bets.
Oh yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
You think that's real money? You think that's real money?
No. 100% not. Well, I've also seen the streamers that get they'll bet like $3,000 and they'll make like $3 million. And it's like, no, you didn't. Like, there's no fucking way you made $3 million. Or if you did, somebody was pulling strings and made this guy win $3 million. So this way it's plausible.
It's not even pulling strings. I mean, like, I'll tell you, just because it doesn't negatively affect me, my whole business is based on helping people win. So I can talk shit on all the people that help people lose all day long. All it's going to be is like a lot of these streamers, right? Like these stake streamers and things like that. If they have a deal, they probably get a certain amount of money to post and a promo account that has promo money in it, and they're streaming, and they'll go on a stream, and let's say they have $10,000. Well, their rep just threw that $10,000 in their account. It's not real money, and their whole thing is like make the stream as entertaining as possible, right? Mm-hmm. So bet crazy, try to win big, try to get a big jackpot, try to clip a big jackpot. And then based on your views online, that's going to be how much you get paid, right? And a lot of these guys have moved into like, a video of someone hitting a big jackpot or something like that. That goes viral and it trends to more views. Whereas like I know, like I have good friends who have actually like the other guy in the video that you guys saw with Tommy, he has actually hit $1 million slot machine. He is not lifetime up gambling at all. Not even close, right? But he actually does participate in the gambling. A lot of these streamers, they don't, Like when you see the exposed, I don't know if you heard about that. He like went to Resorts World like a month ago and lost like $4 million in a night. That was real money. And that's why you actually saw like him fucked up over it. He's like coming out doing videos addressing it and like, looks like he's about to cry online because like that actually mattered to him. But if he goes on a stream and he's just like blows through $250,000, he's like, all right, chat, see you tomorrow. It's not real. And like if you want to be a real winning gambler, like that is not how you gamble. That is gambling like a sheik that flies over here to stay at the MGM mansions and runs around with fucking, Saudi oil money and doesn't give a fuck about the outcome. And he just wants, his Vegas casino host to bring escorts to his room, and cocaine and all the other Vegas amenities. Like that's that type of gambling. You don't want to do that type of gambling. You do not want to be that guy. You do not want to be Bruno Mars. You know about that? What?
Why wouldn't you want to be Bruno Mars?
Bruno Mars owes MGM $50 million right now.
Really?
That he doesn't have to pay because he did a residency here at MGM and was staying here and lost so much money gambling that he didn't make, like, forget about making money. He was getting like $200,000 a show and losing like $1 million a day.
Wow.
right? And like now he had to extend his deal. So like MGM doesn't let him gamble anymore. He lives pretty much at the MGM Grand. He's there all the time. Like they don't really let him leave because they don't want him to like jump out on this $50 million in debt. And like the people around Vegas, it's very well known. It's very well known to the people that like work at the Bellagio and MGM Grand and the places that he was frequenting. But he had to extend his MGM contract. He's going to be singing sing-alongs at the MGM Grand until he's 80 years old before he gets that debt paid off.
Right.
But like, he fell for the trap. He fell for the drugs. He fell for the girls. He fell for the, high stakes. A lot of people gamble large amounts of money because it makes them feel cool, right? It's like it does. It makes it like you're like you walk into a you could be a let's say you're a hedge fund trader and your job is so fucking boring, right? And you go into New York City every day and you take the fucking train out to Long Island and to your 5 kids and your ugly fucking wife that you've been dating since you were 22, but you got a lot of money because you work a really good fucking job. You come out to Vegas, you put $200,000 on the table, all of a sudden you're this goddamn celebrity. Everybody's watching you. They think you're the shit. They want to know who you are. They want to know what you do. Girls that would never look your direction are coming up and paying attention to you and touching your arm and all this stuff. That's Vegas. That's what it is. And you just don't want to be that guy. You want to be, if you want to be a gambler, you want to be me. You want to have your fanny pack, your cash, walk in, make the bet that you want to make, go home, watch, see the outcome, get the fuck out of there. Do it for a purpose. Like I personally, I don't even like online accounts very much. I mean, just because of the access for me to gamble at all times. And, like I like the fact that I my traditional routine is just going into the casino, making my bet, leaving, because it makes me feel like I'm actually going there with a purpose to do a job. Job's done, get the fuck out of there. No extra time, no falling for the traps, but yeah, that stuff exists, and now they're trying to figure out with all these stake streamers and online streamers, how do we make the crazy gamblers that lose all this money in real life in Vegas, how do we get them to do that online? And, that's how they do it.
Switching topics a little bit. Your wife is a porn star. How did you meet her, and how does that affect your relationship with her?
So, I mean, she's retired and she's been retired the whole time that we've been together. I don't really care too much about her past at all. It's not something that like makes me feel self-conscious or anything like that. Like when you actually like talk to a lot of actresses and like, women that work in like that industry, you learn a lot about things that might, that you might not actually think is how it goes or what's going on. It's like, okay, it's not, it's not so black and white like you think. But yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't, want her to keep working while we were like together doing a hard thing. But like, I was a wild man in my youth, so, and I was not getting paid to be wild, and I was not faking it, and I was not acting. So, I don't walk around judging people, like, and it's hilarious too, because a lot of people, they ask that question, like, oh, how does it affect your relationship or this, that, and the third, or like, they're like, oh, I would never date, an OnlyFans girl or or a porn star. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. You rub your little pecker to girls like her on Pornhub all the fucking time. You wish you could fuck girls that fuck like her and do the shit she does. And that's what you guys fantasize about. You guys, like there's like these men, like they simp, and then they like so many guys like, oh, I would never do that. And then they're like sub to like 10 OnlyFans girls. And like they're like hiding that shit on the side, or they like have a massive porn addiction, or like, their wife hasn't sucked their dick in like 6 months, like Boo hoo. I would way rather be me. Like, you know, I would way rather be me. I would way rather know that my wife's going to be hot for a long time, gives a shit about her appearance, and, you know, we always have fun. And, like, I'm confident in myself sexually, so, like, I don't have anything to worry about. You know, if you're walking around, like, you know, scared that some other man, like, you know, like, what are you self-conscious about? You know, like, do I let her do any of that stuff now while we're together? Fuck no. But, like, you know, it's all good over here. Like, I don't, you know, I always get a little, like, combative because I'm like, how do you think it is? It's fucking awesome. You know, like, it's just something that not everyone can pull off. You know, like, a lot of dudes wish they could pull stuff like that off. They can't. You know, and that's what causes the shit talk. You
Right.
know, the shit talk is not like, you never hear like successful people talking shit.
Right.
It's always the people that can't pull something off, that, like, you know,
Right.
like, when you get tired of missionary fucking your girlfriend, you can picture what I get, you know? Like, that's kind of the way I rock with it.
Would she be down to come on the podcast?
Probably not. I mean, she's out of the, like, she's, you know, she's been retired for like over 2 years now. So, like, and we, you know, we have kids and stuff. So
Fair enough.
she's chilling. And, like, I've spent a lot of money and worked very, very hard to make sure that she just gets to, you know, be like an awesome mom. And just, I mean, like, and a lot of people don't realize that, like, I think before, like, you know, she had a kid before we were together, and a lot of, like, industry work and stuff that she did was all based around, like, her being a great mom. Like, say what you want about, like, lots of women out there, but she would have to work like 6 hours a month and make, you know, what you guys are hoping to get for a yearly salary, you know,
Right.
out the gate. You know, like, it's just like, so what, you go to work 6 hours, and the other, you know, 30 days, 18 hours of the month, you get to just be a full-time mom and do awesome fun things and go to, you know, Disney World all the time, or, you know, California. Like, it's just, sometimes people don't really think of things in their full, like, perspective, you know. And, like, definitely as soon as, like, our kids have started to get a little older, I'm happy that she's out of the industry now, because I don't want them to, like, see that and not understand it. But in the beginning, I totally understand it, because if you could not work, have all the money that you need to live an awesome life, and you only have to do this one thing that you're just pretending for, you know, a little bit of time, we would all do. And it's like, pretending what? To do something that we all enjoy doing anyways. Like, a lot of people just aren't honest with themselves. And, like, that's, you know, a bummer for them.
Have family and friends judged you for this? And if so, how have you approached this?
So, I mean, I have a pretty, my family, I mean, you know, people like to, like, they like to talk, but, like, you know, like, anyone who knows me knows I don't give a shit. Like, the quickest way for me to cut you out of my life and not fucking talk to you anymore is to think that I care and say some shit that I don't want to hear. And, like, everybody who knows me knows that, right? So they're like, you know, I am sure that there have been conversations that have happened behind my back, but, like, I don't care. Who cares? Like, so what? You know, like, let people, like, you know, and, like, my family and my close friends and the people that I actually keep in my circle, you know, we're pretty tight, and they know my, you know, they know my personality, and, like, living the life that I've lived, and, like, especially, like I told you, I was wild when I was young, you know, like, being able to, you know, marry a porn star and, like, not have that bother me and enjoy the fun life that we live together, like, that's pretty much right in character for me. It's not like that. It's not like, whoa, that came out of left field. No, it's like, okay, that makes sense.
I think the,
You know?
yeah. The last question I do want to ask, because I feel like we're coming close to an hour now.
Yeah.
I think like this is a good area to stop. Is what advice would you give to young people?
I think honestly, it would be just like kind of what we were just like, stop caring what other people think about you. Do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy. If it doesn't work out, try again. And like, don't be so scared of like I think that like people are genuinely ruled by this like fear of like the unknown future, what's gonna happen. And like the only way to fucking miss is to not shoot. Like just keep going, like chug along. Don't care what other like the people that you should really care about are the people that bring positive things into your life and positive energy and support the choices that you are making. I mean, I'm not saying if you want to be a heroin addict that the people around you should support the choices that you're making. But like if people are just talking shit just to talk shit and you genuinely know that you're doing the right thing or you're doing the thing that makes you happy, just keep doing it. Like life's too short to worry about what other people think, And there's always other there's always more than one way to, to do things. If someone says that you have to go to college, high school, college, job, pay off your student loans, start a family, if somebody says that that is what you have to do, like I would definitely recommend challenging that and seeing if there's another way of getting to the final destination that might like suit you a little more, and just if that's not who you are, just be true to who you are. Because like if you aren't living true to yourself, you will actually never be happy. Like I do feel like I live very true to myself. I like to gamble. I like to party. I like to have fun with my wife. I like to, I like to do all the things we do. And I really don't do many things I don't like to do. I don't like to do dishes. She does those. I don't like to do laundry. She does those. I like to make money. I do that. Like just stay true to like what you want to do. That's it.
All right. Any final words to the audience?
No, I support these guys. I mean, obviously, George, Luke, you guys are just getting starting in the podcast game and in the content game. And, I support the journey. I'll be watching your page. I followed you guys back. So
Thank you.
let me know when the episode drops. And if you guys need anything in the future or any other guests or athletes, there might be some, some more athletes I could throw your way that have a little bit more of a, family friendly story. We could throw you guys some of those guys too. But yeah, just support these guys. I mean, it's hard to get on here and like, be on camera for an hour and show yourself. Like, 95% of guys like wouldn't do that. So you've already made the first step.
Thank you.
I appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Right,
Also,
guys.
too, in terms of guests, dude, bring on the most controversial people you can find. Just
Well,
the
I mean,
crazy.
like, it's funny. Like you hit me up,
Yeah.
but like, you want controversy, you should hit up Mickey. I just don't know if he would do it, but and if you would rely on him.
I don't know. He goes on a lot of shows. He does go on
He
a lot
does.
of shows.
He does. He does.
He is a very controversial figure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
To say the least.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording now. All right. We'll talk a little bit after the show. All right.
You got it.
3, 2,